The moment pressure hits, most people collapse. Not physically, but mentally. They freeze. They panic. They make terrible decisions. They say things they regret. They crack under the weight of expectations, and then they wonder why they never reach their potential. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Pressure doesn't break you. Poor mental training does. Champions aren't born with nerves of steel. They build them. They train their minds to stay sharp when everything around them is falling apart. They understand that pressure is not the enemy. It's the test. And if you want to win in life, you better learn how to pass it, because life will test you. It will push you to your breaking point. It will demand more from you than you think you can give. And in those moments, your mind will either be your greatest weapon or your biggest weakness. The choice is yours. But first, you need to understand why you've been failing this test your whole life. Chapter 1. Why pressure breaks weak minds instantly. When pressure hits, weak minds do one thing. They panic. They lose all composure. They forget everything they know. They make emotional decisions instead of logical ones. And the reason is simple. They've never trained for it. They've lived their entire lives in comfort zones. They've avoided discomfort. They've run from challenges. And when life finally forces them into a high-stakes situation, they have no mental framework to handle it. Your mind is like a muscle. If you never stress it, it stays weak. If you never put it under pressure, it will crumble the moment real pressure arrives. Most people train their bodies but ignore their minds. They go to the gym but never work out their mental strength. They build physical endurance but have zero psychological resilience. That's why they break. Weak minds also have terrible thought patterns under pressure. They catastrophize. They imagine the worst possible outcomes. They focus on everything that could go wrong instead of what they need to do right. Their internal dialogue becomes their worst enemy. Instead of staying focused on solutions, they get lost in problems. Instead of thinking about the process, they obsess over the consequences. Here's what happens in your brain when you panic. Your amygdala, the fear center, takes over. It hijacks your rational thinking. It floods your system with stress hormones. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your vision narrows. Your decision-making ability plummets. You literally become dumber under pressure because your brain is operating in survival mode instead of performance mode. Weak minds also make the mistake of trying to eliminate pressure entirely. They think the goal is to feel calm and relaxed all the time. But that's not how champions think. Champions understand that pressure is part of the game. They don't try to avoid it. They learn to use it. They understand that pressure can actually enhance performance if you know how to channel it properly. The biggest mistake people make is believing that pressure is external. They think it comes from the situation, the people watching, the stakes involved. But pressure is internal. It's created by your thoughts, your beliefs, your interpretations. Two people can be in the exact same situation and experience completely different levels of pressure based on how they're thinking about it. Weak minds also lack preparation. They don't have a plan for high-pressure situations. They wing it. They hope everything will work out. They rely on luck instead of skill. But champions prepare for pressure. They visualize challenging scenarios. They practice under stress. They develop protocols for when things go wrong. They don't leave their mental state to chance. Another reason weak minds break is because they take pressure personally. When things get intense, they start thinking about what others will think of them. They worry about their reputation. They fear judgment. They make it about their ego instead of the task at hand. This creates additional psychological pressure that has nothing to do with the actual challenge they're facing. Weak minds also have no recovery system. When they make a mistake under pressure, they spiral. One error leads to another. They can't reset. They can't refocus. They carry the weight of each mistake forward. making everything harder. Champions, on the other hand, have the ability to flush mistakes immediately and return to a peak mental state. The truth is, pressure exposes everything. It reveals your true character. It shows whether you've done the work or just talked about it. It separates those who have built real mental strength from those who have just been pretending. And if you've been living a soft life, avoiding challenges, staying in your comfort zone, pressure will destroy you. Not because you're not capable, but because you haven't prepared your mind for the intensity. Your mind under pressure is like water in a bottle. If the bottle is weak, the pressure will make it explode. But if the bottle is strong, it can handle the pressure and maintain its shape. The question is, what kind of mental container have you built? Have you reinforced it through deliberate practice and stress exposure? Or have you kept it weak through avoidance and comfort seeking? The good news is that mental strength can be built. Pressure tolerance can be developed. Your mind can be trained to stay sharp when everything around you is chaotic. But it requires intentional practice. It requires you to seek out pressure instead of avoiding it. It requires you to train your thoughts, your breathing, your focus, your recovery systems. It requires you to understand that pressure is not something that happens to you, but something you can learn to control. Chapter 2. The champion mindset that transforms pressure into power. Champions don't just handle pressure, they transform it into fuel. They understand something that weak minds don't. Pressure is energy, and energy can be channeled. It can be directed. It can be used to enhance performance instead of destroying it. But this transformation doesn't happen automatically. It requires a complete shift in how you think about pressure itself. The first thing champions understand is that pressure is a privilege. Most people never get the opportunity to perform under pressure because they never put themselves in positions that matter. They play it safe. They avoid challenges. They stay small. But champions actively seek out high-stakes situations because they know that's where growth happens. That's where they prove themselves. That's where they separate from the competition. Champions also understand that pressure reveals truth. It strips away all the pretense and shows you who you really are. It exposes your preparation level. It reveals your mental toughness. It shows whether your confidence is real or fake. Most people fear this exposure. Champions welcome it. They want to know where they stand. They want to see their weaknesses so they can fix them. Here's the key mindset shift. Champions don't try to eliminate pressure. They try to optimize their performance under pressure. They understand that some of their best performances will come when the stakes are highest. They've learned to associate pressure with opportunity, not threat. When pressure increases, their excitement increases. When others start to panic, they start to focus. Champions also have a different relationship with failure under pressure. They don't see it as a reflection of their worth. They see it as data. They see it as feedback. They see it as part of the learning process. This removes the emotional charge from mistakes and allows them to stay rational even when things go wrong. They can make errors and bounce back immediately because their identity isn't tied to perfect performance. The champion mindset also includes understanding that pressure is temporary. Weak minds act like pressure situations will last forever. They get overwhelmed by the intensity and lose perspective. Champions know that every pressure situation has a beginning, middle, and end. They focus on executing in the present moment rather than being overwhelmed by the scope of the challenge. Champions train their minds to be pressure seekers instead of pressure avoiders. They deliberately put themselves in uncomfortable situations. They practice speaking in front of crowds. They take on challenging projects. They compete at higher levels. They understand that comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time they successfully navigate a pressure situation, their confidence grows and their pressure tolerance increases. Another key aspect of the champion mindset is process focus over outcome focus. Under pressure, weak minds become obsessed with results. They think about winning or losing, success or failure, approval or rejection. Champions focus on execution. They focus on the next play, the next decision, the next action. They trust that if they execute properly, the results will take care of themselves. Champions also understand the power of pressure preparation. They don't just practice their skills. They practice their skills under pressure. They simulate game conditions. They create artificial stress in training so that real stress feels familiar. They rehearse not just what they'll do, but how they'll think and feel when pressure hits. This mental rehearsal is what allows them to stay composed when others are falling apart. The champion mindset includes a deep understanding of pressure physiology. They know what happens to their body under stress, and they have strategies to manage it. They understand that some physiological activation is normal and even beneficial. They don't try to be completely calm. They try to be optimally aroused. They learn to interpret pressure sensations as signs of readiness rather than signs of threat. Champions also develop pressure rituals. These are specific mental and physical routines they perform in high-stakes situations. These rituals serve multiple purposes. They focus the mind, they create familiarity in unfamiliar situations, and they trigger a peak performance state. The ritual becomes an anchor that keeps them grounded when everything else feels chaotic. Here's what separates champions from everyone else. They understand that pressure is not the problem. The problem is how you think about pressure. If you see pressure as a threat, your body will respond with fear, and your performance will suffer. If you see pressure as an opportunity to show what you're made of, your body will respond with excitement, and your performance will elevate. Champions know that pressure situations are where legends are made. These are the moments that define careers, that separate the good from the great, that create the stories people tell for decades. They don't want to just survive these moments. They want to thrive in them. They want to be the person others look to when things get intense. They want to be known as someone who rises when the stakes are highest. The transformation from pressure victim to pressure master starts with a decision. You decide that you will no longer run from pressure. You decide that you will train for it. You decide that you will seek it out. You decide that pressure situations are opportunities to prove your growth. This mindset shift is the foundation everything else is built on. Without it, all the techniques in the world won't help you. With it, you become unstoppable. Chapter 3. Train your thoughts to stay sharp when chaos hits. Your thoughts, under pressure, determine everything. They determine how you feel, how you perform, how you respond to unexpected challenges. Most people let their thoughts run wild when pressure hits. They allow fear, doubt, and negative scenarios to flood their minds. Champions train their thoughts like athletes train their bodies. They develop mental discipline. They learn to control their internal dialogue. They master the art of thinking under fire. The first step in training your thoughts is awareness. You have to become conscious of what's happening in your mind when pressure builds. Most people are unconscious. They're not paying attention to their internal dialogue. They're not noticing the negative thought patterns. They're not aware of how their thinking is affecting their performance. You can't change what you don't notice. Start paying attention to your thoughts in pressure situations. What's the first thing that pops into your mind when stakes get high? Is it fear about failing? Worry about what others will think? Doubt about your abilities? Negative predictions about outcomes? Whatever it is, notice it without judgment. Just observe. Awareness is the first step toward control. Once you're aware of your thought patterns, you can start redirecting them. Instead of letting your mind wander into worst-case scenarios, You train it to focus on what you need to do right now. Instead of thinking about all the things that could go wrong, you focus on your preparation and your process. Instead of worrying about outcomes you can't control, you focus on actions you can control. Champions develop what's called process cues. These are specific thoughts or phrases they use to keep their minds focused on execution rather than outcome. Instead of thinking about winning or losing, they think about technique. Instead of thinking about the score, they think about the next play. Instead of thinking about the audience, they think about their breathing or their form or their strategy. Mental training also involves developing pressure mantras. These are short, powerful phrases that help you stay centered when chaos hits. Something like, stay present, stay focused, or trust your training, or one play at a time, or breathe and execute. The key is to practice these mantras in training so they become automatic under pressure. When your mind starts to spiral, the mantra brings you back to center. Another crucial aspect of thought training is learning to reframe pressure sensations. When your heart starts racing and your palms get sweaty, weak minds interpret this as danger. Champions reframe it as readiness. They tell themselves, my body is preparing me to perform, or this energy will help me focus, or I'm ready for this challenge. The physical sensations are the same, but the interpretation completely changes the mental response. Champions also train their minds to stay in the present moment. Pressure makes your mind want to jump to the future or get stuck in the past. You start thinking about what will happen if you fail, or you replay previous mistakes. Champions train themselves to stay anchored in the now. They focus on what they can do in this moment, with this breath, on this play. Visualization is another powerful tool for training pressure thoughts. Champions spend time mentally rehearsing high-pressure situations, but they don't just visualize success. They visualize challenges, mistakes, unexpected obstacles, and how they'll respond mentally to each scenario. They practice staying calm and focused in their minds before they have to do it in reality. Thought stopping is a technique where you literally interrupt negative thought patterns before they spiral out of control. The moment you notice your mind going to a dark place, you say, stop, either out loud or in your head, and then immediately redirect to a more productive thought. This takes practice, but it's incredibly effective for maintaining mental control under pressure. Champions also understand the power of acceptance. Fighting against pressure thoughts often makes them stronger. Instead of trying to eliminate all nervous thoughts, they accept that some mental chatter is normal, and they let it pass through without giving it power. They don't resist the thoughts. They just don't follow them down rabbit holes. Another key element is developing confidence anchors. These are specific memories or thoughts that instantly boost your confidence when pressure hits. Maybe it's remembering a time you performed well under pressure. Maybe it's thinking about all the preparation you've done. Maybe it's reminding yourself of your past successes. Having these mental resources ready allows you to instantly shift your state when doubt creeps in. Question-based thinking is also powerful under pressure. Instead of making statements like, I'm going to fail, or this is too hard, champions ask empowering questions like, how can I execute perfectly right now? Or, what's the best decision in this situation? Questions direct your mind towards solutions rather than problems. Champions also train their minds to zoom out when pressure gets intense. They remind themselves that this moment, while important, is just one moment in a long journey. They maintain perspective. They don't catastrophize. They understand that even if this particular performance doesn't go well, it's not the end of the world. This prevents them from putting so much pressure on themselves that they can't perform. Mental rehearsal of recovery is crucial. Champions don't just practice performing well. They practice recovering from mistakes. They visualize making an error and then immediately bouncing back. They train their minds to flush mistakes quickly and return to peak focus. This mental training prevents one mistake from turning into a cascade of errors. The goal isn't to eliminate all pressure thoughts. The goal is to maintain control over your mind when pressure hits. You want to be able to notice unproductive thoughts without being controlled by them. You want to be able to redirect your focus quickly and efficiently. You want your internal dialogue to support your performance rather than sabotage it. This kind of mental training requires daily practice. You can't wait for pressure situations to work on your mental game. You have to practice in low-stakes situations so the skills are automatic when stakes get high. Every challenging situation becomes an opportunity to train your mind. Every moment of stress becomes a chance to practice mental control. Chapter 4. Build a pressure routine that keeps you grounded. Champions don't leave their mental state to chance when pressure hits. They have specific routines that ground them, center them, and put them in peak performance mode. These pressure routines are like mental armor that protects them from the chaos around them. Without a routine, you're at the mercy of your emotions and external circumstances. With a routine, you have control. Your pressure routine should be something you can do quickly and discreetly in any situation. It shouldn't require special equipment or perfect conditions. It should be portable and adaptable. The goal is to have a reliable way to shift your state from anxiety to readiness, from scattered to focused, from overwhelmed to composed. The foundation of any good pressure routine is breathing. When pressure hits, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This triggers your stress response and makes everything worse. Champions train specific breathing patterns that activate their parasympathetic nervous system and create calm focus. One effective technique is box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Repeat this cycle 5 times and your nervous system will shift. Another breathing technique is the combat breath used by military personnel. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale through your mouth for 4, hold for 4. This pattern has been proven to maintain performance under extreme stress. The key is to practice this breathing pattern regularly, so it becomes automatic when you need it most. Physical centering is another crucial component of pressure routines. This involves specific movements or postures that ground you and create confidence. Some champions use power poses, standing tall with their chest out and chin up. Others use subtle movements like rolling their shoulders back or clenching and releasing their fists. The physical act helps shift the mental state. Mental cues are also essential. These are specific thoughts, images, or phrases that instantly put you in the right mindset. Some champions visualize a specific color that represents calmness and strength. Others recall a moment when they performed perfectly under pressure. Others use a simple phrase like, "I'm ready," or "trust the process." The cue should be personal and meaningful to you. Many champions incorporate a quick mental reset into their routine. This involves acknowledging the pressure without fighting it, accepting that some nervousness is normal, and then consciously choosing to focus on the task at hand. They might think something like, "I feel the pressure. That means this matters. Now, let me do what I've trained to do." Sensory grounding is another powerful technique. This involves using your senses to anchor yourself in the present moment. You might focus on 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can feel. This pulls your mind out of anxious future thinking and grounds you in reality. Some champions use object anchors as part of their routine. This might be touching a piece of jewelry, adjusting their equipment, or simply placing their hand over their heart. The physical action becomes associated with peak performance through repetition and conditioning. When they perform this action, their mind automatically shifts to their optimal state. The timing of your pressure routine is crucial. You want to use it early, before the pressure builds to overwhelming levels. Champions often have multiple versions of their routine. A longer version they use before major events, and a shorter version they can use during competition when they feel their focus slipping. Consistency is everything with pressure routines. You have to use the exact same routine every time, whether you're dealing with minor stress or major pressure. This conditions your mind and body to respond predictably to the routine. If you keep changing it or only use it sometimes, it won't be effective when you really need it. Your routine should also include a performance cue, something that signals to your mind that it's time to execute. This might be taking a deep breath and saying, "Let's go," or visualizing yourself succeeding, or simply stepping forward with confidence. The performance cue marks the transition from preparation to action. Practice your routine in low-pressure situations first. Use it before giving presentations at work, before difficult conversations, before challenging workouts. The more you practice it in smaller situations, the more reliable it becomes in bigger moments. Your mind learns to trust the routine because it has worked before. Some champions also include a brief gratitude moment in their routine. They take a second to appreciate the opportunity they have, the preparation they've done, or simply the chance to test themselves under pressure. This shifts their mindset from fear to appreciation and helps them see pressure as privilege rather than punishment. Your routine should end with a clear intention. This is where you consciously choose how you want to show up in the pressure situation. You might set an intention to stay calm and focused, to trust your preparation, to give your best effort, or to enjoy the challenge. Setting this intention gives your mind a clear direction. The routine should feel natural and personal to you. Don't copy someone else's routine if it doesn't resonate. Create something that fits your personality and makes sense for your situation. Some people need movement, others need stillness. Some need words, others work better with images. Make it yours. Remember that your pressure routine is not about eliminating all nervousness. It's about channeling that nervous energy into focused performance. Some activation is actually beneficial for peak performance. Your routine should help you find the optimal level of arousal, not eliminate all arousal. Advanced practitioners develop situation-specific routines. They might have one routine for public speaking, another for athletic competition, and another for high-stakes meetings. Each routine is tailored to the specific demands and environment of that pressure situation. Your pressure routine is your secret weapon. It's what allows you to perform consistently regardless of external circumstances. When others are falling apart around you, your routine keeps you centered. When chaos reigns, your routine creates calm. When pressure mounts, your routine transforms it into fuel for peak performance. Chapter 5. Master the art of staying present when stakes are high. When stakes get high, your mind wants to be anywhere except the present moment. It jumps to future consequences, past failures, other people's opinions, everything except what's happening right now. This mental time travel is what destroys performance under pressure. Champions master the art of staying anchored in the present because they know that's the only place where performance actually happens. The present moment is where your power lives. It's the only moment you can actually influence. You can't change the past, and you can't control the future, but you can control what you do right now. When pressure hits and your mind starts wandering to outcomes and consequences, you have to train yourself to come back to this moment, this breath, this action. Most people under pressure are fighting two battles: the actual challenge in front of them and the imaginary battle in their heads about all the things that might happen. Champions only fight one battle. They focus completely on the task at hand and let the results take care of themselves. This singular focus is what allows them to access their full capabilities. Present moment awareness starts with your breath. Your breath is always happening now. It's always available as an anchor to the present. When you notice your mind racing forward or backward in time, return to your breathing. Feel the air entering your lungs. Notice the pause between inhale and exhale. Use your breath as a bridge back to the now. Another powerful way to stay present is through sensory awareness. What do you see right now? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you smell? Engaging your senses pulls your mind out of abstract thinking and grounds you in immediate reality. Champions often use this technique between plays or during breaks to reset their mental state. Task focus is crucial for staying present under pressure. Instead of thinking about the overall challenge or the final outcome, break everything down into the smallest possible components. If you're giving a presentation, don't think about the entire speech. Focus on the first sentence, then the next sentence. If you're competing, don't think about the final score. Focus on the next play, the next movement, the next decision. Champions develop what's called a narrow focus under pressure. While others are overwhelmed by the big picture, champions zoom in on exactly what they need to do in this moment. They block out everything else and create tunnel vision around their immediate task. This isn't ignoring reality. It's prioritizing what actually matters for performance. One technique for maintaining present focus is the spotlight method. Imagine your attention as a spotlight that you can direct wherever you want. When pressure hits, consciously direct that spotlight onto your immediate task. If your mind starts to wander, notice it and redirect the spotlight. You are the director of your attention, not a victim of it. Physical cues can help maintain present moment focus. Some champions use specific movements or touches to bring themselves back to now. They might tap their leg, adjust their stance, or touch their equipment. The physical action serves as a reset button that pulls their attention back to the present task. Another powerful technique is process-based thinking. Instead of outcome-based thoughts like, "I need to win this," or "I can't mess this up," champions use process thoughts like, "Stay balanced," or "Keep my head up," or "Follow through completely." Process thoughts keep you focused on what you're doing rather than what might happen. Champions also practice something called micro goals. Instead of focusing on the big objective, they set tiny goals for each moment. Maybe it's maintaining good posture for the next 30 seconds, or making perfect contact with the ball, or speaking the next sentence clearly. These micro goals keep your mind engaged with immediate execution rather than distant outcomes. The art of staying present also involves accepting uncertainty. Part of what pulls people out of the present is their desire to know how things will turn out. They want guarantees and predictability. Champions accept that uncertainty is part of high-stakes situations. They make peace with not knowing the outcome and focus on controlling what they can control right now. Mental noting is another technique for present moment awareness. When you notice your mind wandering to the future or past, simply note it by saying, "thinking" or "planning" or "worrying," and then return to the present task. Don't fight the wandering mind. Just acknowledge it and redirect. This prevents you from getting caught in mental battles that drain your energy. Champions understand that staying present is not a one-time achievement. It's a continuous practice. Your mind will drift away from the present moment dozens of times during a high-pressure situation. The skill is not in preventing this drift, but in noticing it quickly and returning to now. Each return to the present strengthens your ability to stay focused. One common mistake is trying to force present moment awareness. This creates tension and actually makes it harder to stay focused. Instead, gently guide your attention back to the present. Think of it like training a puppy. You wouldn't yell at a puppy for wandering off. You'd calmly bring it back to where you want it to be. Champions also use the power of routine to maintain present focus. When you have specific routines for different situations, you don't have to think about what to do next. The routine guides you through each moment, keeping you engaged with immediate actions rather than future concerns. Your routine becomes a pathway to present moment performance. Advanced practitioners learn to find presence in pressure itself. Instead of seeing pressure as something that pulls them away from the present, they learn to use the intensity of the moment as a focusing tool. The heightened awareness that comes with pressure can actually enhance present moment focus if you know how to use it. Present moment mastery also involves embracing the temporary nature of pressure situations. Nothing lasts forever, including the current moment of intensity. This perspective helps you stay calm because you know that whatever you're feeling right now will pass. You don't have to carry the weight of the entire situation. Just this moment. The ultimate goal is to develop what Zen masters call effortless effort. This is where you're completely present and engaged, but without strain or tension. You're giving your full attention to what you're doing, but you're not forcing it. You're in the flow state, where action happens naturally and optimally. Remember that staying present under pressure is a skill that transfers to all areas of life. The more you practice it in high-stakes situations, the better you become at being present in everyday moments. This creates a positive cycle where your general mindfulness improves your pressure performance, and your pressure performance training improves your overall presence. Mastering present moment awareness under pressure is what separates good performers from great ones. It's what allows you to access your full capabilities when it matters most. It's what keeps you calm in chaos and focused in intensity. It's the foundation that all other pressure skills are built upon. Chapter 6. Use pressure as fuel instead of letting it drain you. Most people see pressure as the enemy. They think it's something to overcome, something to push through, something that makes everything harder. Champions see pressure completely differently. They see it as fuel. They understand that pressure is energy, and energy can be harnessed. The difference between someone who breaks under pressure and someone who thrives is not the amount of pressure they feel. It's how they use that pressure. When you feel pressure, your body is literally creating energy. Your heart rate increases, pumping more blood and oxygen to your muscles and brain. Your nervous system activates, sharpening your focus and reaction time. Your body releases hormones that enhance performance. This is not your body working against you. This is your body preparing you to perform at a higher level, but only if you know how to channel it. The first step in using pressure as fuel is changing your interpretation of pressure sensations. When your heart starts racing, instead of thinking, "I'm nervous," think, "My body is getting ready." When you feel butterflies in your stomach, instead of thinking, "I'm scared," think, "I'm activated." When your palms get sweaty, instead of thinking, "I'm anxious," think, "I'm primed for action." The physical sensations are identical, but the mental interpretation completely changes how you respond. Champions understand that optimal performance requires optimal arousal. Too little activation and you're sluggish, unfocused, unmotivated. Too much activation and you're scattered, tense, overwhelmed. The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle, where you're energized but controlled, activated but focused. Pressure naturally brings you into this zone if you know how to work with it instead of against it. The key is learning to ride the wave of pressure instead of being crushed by it. Imagine pressure as a powerful river current. If you fight against it, you'll exhaust yourself and get swept away. But if you learn to navigate with the current, you can use its power to move faster than you ever could on your own. This is what champions do. They align themselves with the energy of pressure and let it carry them to peak performance. One technique for channeling pressure is called energy redirection. When you feel the surge of nervous energy, consciously direct it toward your performance. Feel the energy in your chest and send it to your hands for better control. Feel the activation in your mind and direct it toward sharper focus. Feel the intensity in your body and channel it toward more powerful movements. You're not trying to calm down. You're trying to optimize the energy flow. Champions also use pressure as a signal for heightened focus. The moment they feel pressure building, they know it's time to lock in. The pressure becomes a cue that tells them to eliminate distractions, narrow their attention, and engage their highest level of concentration. Instead of pressure scattered their focus, it sharpens it. They've trained themselves to associate pressure with peak focus states. Another way to use pressure as fuel is through positive pressure seeking. Champions don't wait for pressure to find them. They actively seek out high-pressure situations because they know that's where they grow. They volunteer for challenging assignments. They put themselves in competitive environments. They take on responsibilities that stretch them. Each time they successfully navigate pressure, their confidence grows and their ability to channel pressure improves. The concept of pressure reframing is crucial here. Instead of seeing pressure as a threat to your performance, reframe it as enhancement to your performance. Tell yourself, this pressure is going to help me perform better than I normally do. Tell yourself, this energy is exactly what I need to access my full potential. Tell yourself, I'm going to use this intensity to elevate my game. Your mind will start to believe these reframes and respond accordingly. Champions also understand that pressure creates a heightened state of awareness that can be incredibly beneficial. In pressure situations, your senses are sharper, your reaction time is faster, your processing speed increases. You notice details you normally miss. You make connections you normally wouldn't make. You access capabilities you normally don't have. This is pressure working for you instead of against you. Physical movement is another way to channel pressure energy productively. When you feel activated, use movement to direct that energy. Take a deep breath and extend your arms. Roll your shoulders to release tension while maintaining activation. Bounce lightly on your feet to keep the energy flowing. The goal is not to eliminate the energy, but to keep it flowing smoothly through your system. Champions develop what's called pressure confidence. This is confidence that comes specifically from knowing you can handle intense situations. The more you successfully use pressure as fuel, the more confident you become in pressure situations. You start to look forward to high-stakes moments because you know that's when you perform your best. You become known as someone who rises when the stakes are highest. Another important aspect is understanding that pressure is information. The amount of pressure you feel tells you how much the situation matters to you. High pressure means high importance. Instead of being overwhelmed by this, use it as motivation. The pressure is telling you that this is an opportunity to prove yourself, to grow, to achieve something meaningful. Let that significance fuel your effort. Champions also use pressure timing to their advantage. They understand that pressure often builds before a challenge and then levels off once action begins. They use the building phase to get activated and the action phase to channel that activation into performance. They don't waste energy trying to stay calm during the build-up. They use that time to get their energy systems primed. The visualization technique called pressure rehearsal is powerful for learning to use pressure as fuel. Regularly, visualize yourself in high-pressure situations, feeling the activation in your body, and then channeling that energy into outstanding performance. See yourself getting excited by the pressure rather than intimidated by it. Rehearse, using the energy to enhance your focus, your power, your precision. Pressure can also fuel your competitive fire. When you feel the intensity building, Use it to tap into your deepest motivations. Why does this matter to you? What are you fighting for? What do you want to prove? Let the pressure connect you to your core drive and determination. The energy becomes fuel for your passion and commitment. Champions know that the goal is not to feel no pressure. The goal is to feel pressure and use it effectively. They understand that some of their best performances will come when pressure is highest. They've learned to love the feeling of activation because they know it means they're about to do something significant. They've transformed pressure from an enemy into an ally. Learning to use pressure as fuel is a skill that gets better with practice. The more you work with pressure energy instead of against it, the more natural it becomes. You start to crave those high-intensity moments because you know that's when you shine. You become the kind of person others look to when things get intense because you've learned to transform pressure into power. Chapter 7. Develop bulletproof focus that never breaks under stress. Your ability to maintain focus under stress is what separates amateur performance from professional execution. When pressure hits, most people's focus scatters like leaves in the wind. Their attention jumps from worry to worry, from distraction to distraction, from fear to fear. Champions develop a different kind of focus. A focus that doesn't just survive stress, but actually gets stronger under pressure. This is bulletproof focus, and it's trainable. Bulletproof focus starts with understanding what focus actually is. Focus is not the absence of distractions. Focus is the ability to choose where your attention goes despite distractions. There will always be noise, both external and internal. There will always be competing demands for your attention. The skill is not in eliminating these distractions, but in maintaining your chosen focus despite them. The first component of bulletproof focus is attention control. This is the ability to consciously direct your mental spotlight where you want it to go. Most people's attention is unconscious and reactive. They focus on whatever grabs their attention loudest. Champions train their attention to be conscious and proactive. They decide where to focus and then maintain that focus regardless of what else is happening. Developing attention control requires daily practice in low-stress situations. Start by choosing a simple object and focusing on it for 2 minutes without letting your mind wander. When your attention drifts, notice it and gently bring it back. This is like doing bicep curls for your focus muscle. The more you practice redirecting attention, the stronger your control becomes. Progressive focus training involves gradually increasing the difficulty of your focus challenges. Start in quiet environments with minimal distractions. Then practice in noisier environments. Then practice while people are talking around you. Then practice while under time pressure. Then practice while someone is actively trying to distract you. Each level builds your focus resilience. Champions also develop what's called layered focus. This means having multiple levels of attention that can shift as needed. The primary layer is your main task focus. The secondary layer is environmental awareness for any changes that require attention. The tertiary layer is internal monitoring of your mental and physical state. You can shift between layers smoothly without losing overall focus. Stress inoculation is crucial for developing bulletproof focus. This involves deliberately practicing your focus skills while under controlled stress. Do focused breathing while someone is making noise around you. Practice concentration exercises while under time pressure. Work on attention control while in uncomfortable physical positions. The stress trains your focus to stay strong when conditions are not ideal. One powerful technique is called anchor focus. This involves choosing a specific physical sensation, sound, or visual point as your focus anchor. When stress tries to scatter your attention, you return to your anchor. It might be the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sound of your breathing, or a spot on the wall. The anchor gives you a reliable place to return your attention when it starts to drift. Champions understand the difference between narrow focus and broad focus, and they train both. Narrow focus is like a laser beam, concentrated on a specific task or detail. Broad focus is like a floodlight, aware of the bigger picture and multiple elements simultaneously. Different situations require different types of focus, and champions can shift between them as needed. Mental reset protocols are essential for maintaining focus under stress. When you notice your focus has been compromised, you need a quick way to restore it. This might involve taking 3 deep breaths, doing a quick body scan, repeating a focus phrase, or performing a brief physical movement. The reset should take no more than 15 seconds and return you to peak focus. Champions also practice distraction immunity. This involves deliberately exposing yourself to distractions while trying to maintain focus on a specific task. Have someone talk to you while you're reading. Listen to music while doing mental math. Practice your skills while people are moving around you. This builds your ability to maintain focus regardless of external circumstances. The concept of focus stamina is crucial for sustained performance under stress. Just like physical stamina, focus stamina can be trained. Start by maintaining intense focus for short periods. Then gradually increase the duration. Practice maintaining focus for the entire length of time you'll need in real performance situations. Mental fatigue is what causes focus to break down in extended pressure situations. Champions develop trigger-based focus, where specific cues automatically shift them into peak focus states. This might be putting on their equipment, entering their performance space, or hearing a specific sound. The trigger becomes associated with intense focus through repetition and conditioning. When the trigger appears, focus automatically intensifies. Another key element is focus flexibility. Rigid focus breaks under pressure because unexpected situations require attention shifts. Champions develop flexible focus that can adapt to changing demands while maintaining overall concentration. They can shift focus quickly and smoothly, without losing their mental rhythm or composure. Stress-proof focus also requires mental endurance training. This involves maintaining focus through fatigue, frustration, and setbacks. Practice concentrating when you're physically tired. Practice focusing when things aren't going your way. Practice maintaining attention when you're emotionally activated. This builds the mental toughness needed for sustained focus under stress. The use of focus cues is another powerful technique. These are specific words, phrases, or mental images that instantly shift you into peak focus. They work like switches that turn on your concentration. The cue should be personal, meaningful, and practiced repeatedly until it becomes automatic. When stress threatens your focus, the cue brings you back to center. Champions also understand focus recovery. When focus is broken, most people panic and struggle to regain it. Champions have trained focus recovery protocols that quickly restore their concentration. They don't waste energy being frustrated about lost focus. They simply execute their recovery routine and return to peak attention. Environmental focus control involves managing your physical environment to support sustained concentration. This means eliminating unnecessary distractions, optimizing lighting and temperature, and positioning yourself for optimal focus. Champions take control of their environment whenever possible to create conditions that support rather than challenge their focus. The practice of meta-attention is advanced focus training. This involves maintaining awareness of your attention while you're focused. You're focused on your task, but you're also aware of the quality and direction of your focus. This allows you to make micro-adjustments to your attention before it becomes scattered. Bulletproof focus under stress is built through consistent practice over time. You can't develop it overnight, but you can build it systematically. Every time you successfully maintain focus through a challenging situation, you strengthen your focus resilience. Every time you quickly recover focus after a distraction, you improve your focus agility. Over time, you develop the kind of unshakable concentration that performs optimally regardless of external pressure. Chapter 8. Train your body to stay calm while your mind stays alert. Your body and mind are not separate entities. They're part of one integrated system. When your body is tense and agitated, your mind becomes scattered and reactive. When your body is calm but alert, your mind can access its full potential. Champions understand this body-mind connection and train their physical state to support optimal mental performance under pressure. Most people under pressure experience physical tension that works against them. Their shoulders tighten, their jaw clenches, their breathing becomes shallow, their muscles lock up. This physical tension sends signals to the brain that there's danger, which triggers more stress responses. It becomes a vicious cycle where physical tension creates mental tension, which creates more physical tension. The goal is not complete relaxation. Complete relaxation leads to sluggish performance. The goal is optimal arousal, where your body is calm enough to be controlled, but alert enough to be responsive. Think of a cat before it pounces, relaxed but ready, calm but coiled. This is the physical state that supports peak mental performance. Breath control is the foundation of optimal physical state under pressure. Your breathing pattern directly affects your nervous system. Shallow, rapid breathing activates your stress response and creates more tension. Deep, controlled breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system and creates calm alertness. Champions train specific breathing patterns that maintain this optimal state. The 4-7-8 breathing technique is particularly effective for managing pressure. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 7 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. This pattern activates your relaxation response while maintaining mental clarity. Practice this pattern regularly so it becomes automatic when pressure builds. Progressive muscle relaxation is another powerful tool for training optimal physical state. This involves systematically tensing and releasing different muscle groups to develop awareness of tension and learn to release it quickly. Start with your toes and work your way up to your head, tensing each muscle group for 5 seconds, then releasing. This teaches your body to differentiate between tension and relaxation. Champions also practice what's called differential relaxation. This is the ability to relax the muscles you don't need while keeping the necessary muscles activated. For example, keeping your core engaged for stability while relaxing your shoulders and jaw. This prevents unnecessary tension while maintaining the activation needed for performance. Posture plays a crucial role in maintaining calm alertness under pressure. Slouched or collapsed posture signals defeat to your brain and nervous system. Rigid, overly tight posture signals stress and anxiety. The optimal posture is tall but relaxed, open but grounded. Your head is up, shoulders are back but not tense, chest is open, and feet are firmly planted. Physical grounding techniques help maintain calm alertness when pressure builds. This involves feeling your connection to the ground through your feet, engaging your core muscles for stability, and using your body as an anchor to the present moment. When your mind starts to race, your body becomes your pathway back to centered focus. Champions train their bodies to respond to pressure with controlled activation rather than chaotic tension. They practice performing their skills while under controlled stress, teaching their muscles to stay coordinated and efficient even when their nervous system is activated. This prevents the breakdown of physical performance that typically occurs under pressure. Heat training is one method for developing physical stress tolerance. Deliberately training in hot conditions teaches your body to maintain performance while dealing with physical stress. This transfers to psychological stress because your body learns that activation doesn't have to mean breakdown. You can perform well even when your system is challenged. Cold exposure training has similar benefits. Taking cold showers or ice baths trains your nervous system to stay calm while your body is under stress. The initial shock activates your stress response, but with practice, you learn to breathe deeply and maintain composure even while experiencing intense physical sensations. Micro-tension awareness is a crucial skill for maintaining optimal physical state. This involves developing sensitivity to small amounts of unnecessary muscle tension and releasing it immediately. Most tension builds gradually, and by catching it early, you can prevent it from affecting your performance. Regular body scans help develop this awareness. Champions also practice stress rehearsal with their bodies. They deliberately activate their stress response through intense exercise or cold exposure, then practice their performance skills while activated. This teaches their body that activation and performance can coexist. Their muscles learn to function optimally even when their nervous system is heightened. Movement patterns under pressure need specific training. Many people's movement becomes rigid and jerky when they're under stress. Champions practice maintaining fluid, efficient movement, even when their nervous system is activated. They train their motor patterns to be robust and consistent regardless of their internal state. Recovery breathing is essential for managing extended pressure situations. This involves using specific breathing patterns during breaks or transitions to quickly reset your physical state. A few deep breaths can shift your nervous system from stress to calm alertness in seconds. This prevents the accumulation of tension over time. Biofeedback training can accelerate your ability to control your physical state under pressure. This involves using devices that monitor your heart rate, breathing, or muscle tension, giving you real-time feedback about your physical state. With practice, you can learn to consciously control these normally unconscious processes. Champions understand that physical preparation for pressure goes beyond fitness training. They practice their performance skills while in various physical states. When tired, when activated, when slightly uncomfortable. This builds robustness into their performance so that variations in physical state don't disrupt their execution. The integration of physical and mental training is where the real magic happens. Instead of training your body and mind separately, you train them together under pressure conditions. You practice maintaining mental focus while your body is challenged. You practice staying physically coordinated while your mind is stressed. This integrated training creates resilience that transfers to real pressure situations. Sensory regulation is another aspect of body-mind integration under pressure. This involves managing your sensory input to maintain optimal arousal. Sometimes you need to narrow your sensory focus to avoid overwhelm. Sometimes you need to broaden it to stay aware. Champions learn to consciously adjust their sensory intake based on the demands of the situation. The development of body awareness under pressure is crucial for maintaining optimal state. You need to know when your body is getting too tense or too relaxed. You need to feel the early signs of stress accumulation. You need to recognize when your physical state is supporting or hindering your mental performance. This awareness allows for quick adjustments. Training your body to stay calm while your mind stays alert is not about suppressing all physical activation. It's about channeling that activation productively. Your body becomes a stable platform that supports peak mental performance rather than a chaotic system that interferes with it. This body-mind integration is what allows champions to access their full potential when pressure is highest. Chapter 9. Handle mistakes without letting them destroy your confidence. Mistakes under pressure are inevitable. No matter how well prepared you are, no matter how skilled you become, you will make errors when stakes are high. The difference between champions and everyone else is not that champions don't make mistakes. It's how they respond to mistakes when they happen. Champions have trained their minds to handle errors without letting them destroy their confidence or derail their performance. Most people's confidence is fragile because it's based on perfection. They believe they need to execute flawlessly to feel good about themselves. The moment they make a mistake, their confidence crumbles. They start doubting their abilities. They become hesitant and tentative. They make more mistakes because they're trying not to make mistakes. This creates a downward spiral that's hard to escape. Champions build what's called robust confidence. This is confidence that can withstand mistakes, setbacks, and unexpected challenges. Robust confidence is not based on perfect performance. It's based on your ability to respond effectively to whatever happens. It's confidence in your problem-solving ability, your resilience, your capacity to adapt and recover. The first step in handling mistakes effectively is changing your relationship with errors. Stop seeing mistakes as proof that you're not good enough. Start seeing them as information that helps you improve. Every mistake teaches you something about your preparation, your technique, your decision-making, or your mental approach. The mistake is not the problem. Not learning from the mistake is the problem. Champions practice what's called mistake flushing. This is the ability to acknowledge an error, extract any useful information from it, and then completely let it go. They don't carry mistakes forward. They don't let one error affect the next decision. They have trained themselves to reset immediately and return to peak focus. Each moment is independent of the previous moment. The technique of compartmentalization is crucial for handling mistakes under pressure. This involves mentally separating the mistake from your overall performance and self-worth. The mistake happened, but it doesn't define you. It was one moment in time, not a reflection of your character or capabilities. You can acknowledge the error without letting it infect your entire mindset. Champions also practice mistake reframing. Instead of seeing errors as failures, they see them as part of the learning process. Instead of viewing mistakes as evidence of inadequacy, they view them as signs that they're pushing their limits. Instead of seeing errors as disasters, they see them as opportunities to demonstrate resilience and mental toughness. The concept of mistake budgeting is powerful for maintaining confidence under pressure. Champions accept that they will make a certain number of mistakes in any performance. They budget for errors instead of expecting perfection. This mental preparation prevents them from being shocked or devastated when mistakes occur. They've already accepted that errors are part of the process. Rapid recovery protocols are essential for handling mistakes without confidence damage. The moment you make an error, you need a quick mental routine that acknowledges it and moves on. This might involve taking a deep breath, reminding yourself of your capabilities, and focusing on the next action. The faster you recover, the less impact the mistake has on your overall performance. Champions understand that mistakes often reveal areas for improvement that success masks. When everything goes perfectly, you don't learn much about your weaknesses or the robustness of your preparation. Mistakes highlight specific areas that need attention. Champions use this information to target their training and become even stronger. The practice of mistake analysis should happen after performance, not during it. In the moment, your job is to flush the mistake and move forward. Later, you can analyze what went wrong and how to prevent it in the future. Trying to figure out mistakes during performance divides your attention and makes more errors likely. Mental resilience training involves deliberately practicing recovery from mistakes in training situations. Make errors on purpose and practice your recovery routine. This builds confidence in your ability to bounce back and prevents mistakes from feeling catastrophic when they happen in real performance situations. Champions also develop a growth mindset about mistakes. They see errors as evidence that they're challenging themselves appropriately. If you never make mistakes, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. If you're operating at the edge of your capabilities, some mistakes are inevitable and even desirable because they indicate you're maximizing your potential. The technique of positive self-talk after mistakes is crucial for maintaining confidence. Instead of berating yourself, speak to yourself like you would speak to a good friend who made the same error. Be encouraging but honest. Acknowledge the mistake but emphasize your overall capabilities and your ability to improve. Context setting is important for handling mistakes without confidence damage. Remember that one mistake, or even several mistakes, in one performance doesn't erase all your previous successes. It doesn't invalidate your training or your abilities. It's one data point in a long career of development and performance. Champions practice what's called mistake immunity. This doesn't mean they don't care about errors. It means errors don't shake their fundamental belief in their abilities. They've built their identity on their process, their preparation, their attitude, and their resilience, rather than on perfect execution. This makes them psychologically bulletproof. The understanding that mistakes are often random is liberating for confidence. Sometimes errors happen due to factors beyond your control. Sometimes the conditions change unexpectedly. Sometimes you make the right decision but get the wrong result. Champions don't take personal responsibility for every mistake, especially those caused by external factors. Building confidence through mistake management requires celebrating good recovery as much as celebrating good performance. When you make an error and bounce back immediately, acknowledge that as a win. When you maintain composure after a setback, recognize that as a strength. These recovery victories build the kind of confidence that can withstand any mistake. Champions also understand that their worst performance doesn't define their capabilities any more than their best performance does. Both are data points on a continuum. Your true ability level is somewhere in the middle, and single performances, good or bad, don't change that fundamental reality. The technique of pre-mistake planning involves mentally rehearsing how you'll respond when errors occur. Visualize making a mistake and then executing your recovery routine perfectly. This mental preparation makes your actual response more automatic and effective when real mistakes happen. Learning to handle mistakes without confidence damage is ultimately about building unshakable self-belief. This belief is not based on never failing. It's based on your proven ability to handle whatever happens with grace, learning, and resilience. When you know you can recover from any mistake, no single error can destroy your confidence. Chapter 10. Build mental stamina that lasts through extended pressure. Mental stamina is what separates those who start strong from those who finish strong. Anyone can maintain focus and composure for short bursts when pressure first hits. But extended pressure situations, those that last hours or days or weeks, require a different kind of mental endurance. Your mind is like a muscle. If you don't train it for endurance, it will fatigue when you need it most. Most people's mental stamina is poor because they've never trained it systematically. They can handle brief moments of stress, but extended pressure exhausts them. Their decision-making deteriorates. Their focus becomes scattered. Their emotional control breaks down. They make poor choices in the final stages when everything matters most. Champions train their minds to maintain peak performance regardless of how long the pressure lasts. Mental fatigue is different from physical fatigue, but it's just as real and just as performance-limiting. When your mind gets tired, your ability to maintain focus diminishes. Your capacity for self-control decreases. Your tendency to make mistakes increases. You become more reactive and less strategic. Understanding mental fatigue is the first step in building the stamina to overcome it. The foundation of mental stamina is understanding that willpower is a finite resource. Every decision you make, every distraction you resist, every emotion you regulate uses mental energy. If you waste this energy on unimportant decisions or unnecessary stress, you won't have enough left for what matters most. Champions are strategic about how they spend their mental energy. Energy conservation is crucial for extended pressure situations. This means making fewer unnecessary decisions, reducing cognitive load wherever possible, and automating routine tasks through strong habits. The more you can operate on autopilot for basic functions, the more mental energy you preserve for critical moments. Champions practice what's called attention cycling. Instead of trying to maintain peak focus continuously, they alternate between periods of intense concentration and brief mental rest. This is like interval training for your mind. You can maintain higher overall performance by cycling your attention than by trying to sustain maximum focus constantly. Micro-recovery techniques are essential for maintaining mental stamina during extended pressure. These are brief mental breaks that restore your cognitive resources without losing momentum. It might be taking 10 deep breaths, doing a quick body scan, or simply closing your eyes for 30 seconds. These micro-recoveries prevent mental fatigue from accumulating. The practice of mental load management involves being conscious of how much cognitive demand you're placing on yourself. Some pressure situations require maximum mental effort, while others can be handled with less intensity. Champions adjust their mental output based on the demands of the situation, saving their highest intensity for when it's most needed. Nutritional strategies for mental stamina are often overlooked but crucial for sustained performance. Your brain needs steady glucose levels to function optimally. Eating small, frequent meals with stable blood sugar helps maintain mental energy. Staying hydrated is equally important, as even mild dehydration can significantly impact cognitive performance. Sleep preparation for pressure situations is critical for mental stamina. Extended pressure often disrupts sleep patterns, but champions prepare for this. They bank sleep before high-pressure periods when possible. They practice sleep hygiene techniques that help them rest even when stressed. They understand that sleep debt accumulates and impacts performance over time. Stress inoculation training builds mental stamina by gradually exposing yourself to longer and more intense pressure situations. Start with brief high-stress periods and progressively increase the duration. This builds your mind's endurance capacity, just like progressive overload builds muscle strength. Champions develop what's called mental pacing strategies. Just like distance runners pace their physical effort, champions pace their mental effort. They understand which parts of extended pressure situations require maximum intensity and which parts can be handled with less mental energy. This prevents premature mental exhaustion. The technique of cognitive switching helps maintain mental stamina by using different parts of your brain for different tasks. Alternate between analytical thinking and creative thinking. Switch between narrow focus and broad awareness. Rotate between verbal processing and visual processing. This gives different cognitive systems time to recover while others are working. Mental stamina also requires emotional regulation endurance. Extended pressure situations test not just your focus and decision-making, but your ability to manage emotions over time. Practice maintaining emotional control for longer and longer periods. Build your capacity to stay composed even when stress accumulates over days or weeks. Progressive mental exposure is a systematic approach to building stamina. Start by handling pressure for short periods, then gradually increase the duration. Like physical endurance training, you progressively overload your mental systems to build greater capacity. Each successful extension of your mental endurance builds confidence for even longer challenges. Champions understand the importance of mental nutrition during extended pressure. Just as your body needs fuel for physical endurance, your mind needs specific inputs for mental endurance. This includes positive self-talk, encouraging thoughts, confidence reminders, and mental imagery that sustains motivation over time. The practice of mindful energy monitoring involves regularly checking your mental energy levels and adjusting accordingly. Like monitoring your heart rate during physical exercise, you need to monitor your mental state during extended pressure. This awareness allows you to make strategic decisions about when to push and when to recover. Mental stamina training also includes building tolerance for mental discomfort. Extended pressure situations involve sustained mental discomfort, uncertainty, and tension. Champions build their ability to perform effectively, even while experiencing these uncomfortable mental states. They don't wait for comfort to return before performing well. Recovery rituals between pressure phases are crucial for mental stamina. Even brief periods of structured recovery can significantly restore mental energy. This might involve meditation, gentle physical movement, positive visualization, or simply sitting quietly. The key is having specific rituals that reliably restore your mental resources. Champions also practice strategic mental delegation during extended pressure. They identify which decisions and focus areas are most critical and prioritize mental energy for those. Less critical elements are handled with minimal mental investment or delegated entirely if possible. The development of mental endurance benchmarks helps track your progress and set appropriate challenges. Know how long you can maintain peak focus, how many high-stakes decisions you can make before fatigue sets in, and what your mental stamina limitations are. This self-knowledge helps you pace yourself appropriately. Building mental stamina is ultimately about training your mind like an endurance athlete trains their body. It requires progressive overload, strategic recovery, proper nutrition, and systematic conditioning. The payoff is the ability to maintain peak mental performance regardless of how long the pressure lasts, giving you a crucial advantage when others are fading. Chapter 11. Create unshakable confidence that grows stronger under pressure. Most people's confidence is backwards. It's high when things are easy and low when things get difficult. This is exactly opposite of what you need for success. Champions build a different kind of confidence. Confidence that actually grows stronger when pressure increases. Confidence that feeds on challenges rather than being diminished by them. This is unshakable confidence. And it's the foundation of all peak pressure performance. Regular confidence is built on past successes and perfect conditions. It's fragile because it depends on everything going right. The moment something goes wrong, this confidence crumbles. Unshakable confidence is different. It's built on your ability to handle whatever happens. It's confidence in your problem-solving ability, your resilience, your capacity to adapt and overcome. This kind of confidence can't be broken by setbacks because setbacks actually strengthen it. The first component of unshakable confidence is process confidence. This is confidence in your preparation, your systems, your approach. You know you've done the work. You know you've prepared properly. You know your process is sound. Even if results vary, you have complete confidence in your preparation and approach. This gives you stability when outcomes are uncertain. Champions also build what's called response confidence. This is confidence in your ability to respond effectively to whatever happens. You've trained for different scenarios. You've practiced recovering from mistakes. You've developed adaptability. You know that regardless of what surprises come up, you have the skills and mindset to handle them effectively. Pressure-tested confidence is built through deliberately seeking challenging situations and succeeding in them. Every time you perform well under pressure, your confidence grows. Every time you recover from a setback, your belief in your resilience increases. Every time you handle the unexpected successfully, your confidence in your adaptability strengthens. You build a track record of pressure performance. The concept of confidence banking involves systematically collecting evidence of your capabilities. Keep a record of your successes, your comebacks, your moments of mental toughness. When pressure hits and doubt creeps in, you can withdraw from this confidence bank. You have concrete proof of your abilities to counter any negative thoughts. Champions understand that confidence is not about feeling invincible. It's about feeling capable. You don't need to believe you'll never make mistakes. You need to believe you can handle any mistakes you make. You don't need to think you'll never face challenges. You need to know you can overcome any challenges that arise. Self-talk plays a crucial role in building unshakable confidence. Champions develop specific phrases and affirmations that reinforce their confidence under pressure. These aren't generic positive statements. They're personal, specific, evidence-based reminders of their capabilities. They practice these statements until they become automatic responses to pressure. Confidence through competence is built by becoming genuinely skilled at what you do. The more competent you become, the more confident you feel. But this goes beyond just technical skills. It includes competence in pressure management, mistake recovery, mental toughness, and adaptability. You become confident because you know you're genuinely capable. The practice of confidence visualization involves regularly seeing yourself performing confidently under pressure. You visualize not just success, but confident responses to challenges. You see yourself staying composed when things go wrong. You imagine yourself getting stronger and more focused as pressure increases. This mental rehearsal builds actual confidence. Champions also develop situational confidence. They prepare specifically for the types of pressure they'll face. If they'll be performing in front of crowds, they practice with audiences. If they'll face time pressure, they train under deadlines. If they'll deal with criticism, they practice handling negative feedback. Familiarity breeds confidence. The understanding that pressure is a privilege builds confidence over time. When you start seeing high-pressure situations as opportunities rather than threats, your confidence naturally increases. You're not just surviving pressure anymore. You're leveraging it. You're using it to access higher levels of performance. This shift in perspective transforms pressure from confidence destroyer to confidence builder. Confidence momentum is created by stringing together successful pressure experiences. Each positive pressure experience makes the next one easier. Each time you handle stress well, you build evidence that you can do it again. This creates an upward spiral where confidence builds on itself and becomes self-reinforcing. Champions practice what's called confident body language under pressure. They train their posture, their movement, their facial expressions to project confidence even when they don't fully feel it. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is understanding that body language affects internal state. Standing confidently actually makes you feel more confident. The development of pressure identity is crucial for unshakable confidence. You don't just perform under pressure. You identify as someone who thrives under pressure. This becomes part of who you are, not just what you do. When pressure appears, instead of thinking, "I have to handle this pressure," you think, "This is where I shine." The pressure becomes confirmation of your identity rather than a challenge to it. Confidence calibration involves having realistic but optimistic expectations about your abilities. Overconfidence can be as destructive as underconfidence. Champions have accurate assessments of their capabilities while maintaining strong belief in their potential. They're confident in their current abilities while staying hungry for improvement. The practice of confidence anchoring involves associating peak confidence states with specific physical cues or mental triggers. This might be a specific stance, a particular phrase, or a mental image. Through repetition, these anchors become able to instantly access confident states when pressure builds. The anchor becomes a shortcut to confidence. Champions understand that confidence is not static. It requires maintenance and reinforcement. They regularly engage in activities that build confidence. They celebrate their successes, even small ones. They acknowledge their growth and improvement. They continuously add to their confidence bank account through new achievements and capabilities. Pressure confidence also requires letting go of the need for external validation. When your confidence depends on others' approval, Pressure situations where approval is uncertain become confidence-threatening. Champions build internal confidence that doesn't require external reinforcement. They know their worth regardless of others' opinions. The technique of confidence layering involves building multiple sources of confidence. You might have confidence in your technical skills, your mental toughness, your preparation, your support team, and your experience. If one layer is challenged, you still have others to rely on. This creates robust confidence that can't be easily shaken. Advanced confidence builders also practice confidence under adversity. They deliberately put themselves in challenging situations where their confidence will be tested. Each time they maintain confidence despite difficulties, they prove to themselves that their confidence is genuine and unshakable. This builds anti-fragile confidence that gets stronger under stress. The development of quiet confidence is the ultimate goal. This is confidence that doesn't need to be displayed or proven. It's internal knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. It's calm certainty rather than loud bravado. This quiet confidence is what allows champions to stay composed and focused when others are trying to prove themselves. Unshakable confidence is not arrogance or denial of reality. It's accurate assessment of your capabilities, combined with absolute belief in your ability to rise to challenges. It's knowing that even if you don't have all the answers right now, you have the capacity to find them. It's confidence in your ability to grow, adapt, and overcome whatever pressure brings your way. Building unshakable confidence takes time and deliberate practice, but it's the most valuable psychological asset you can develop. When you have confidence that grows stronger under pressure, pressure situations become opportunities to demonstrate your strength rather than tests of your weakness. You start seeking out pressure because that's where your confidence shines brightest. Chapter 12. Learn from pressure failures to become mentally bulletproof. Failure under pressure is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. Most people fear pressure failures and try to avoid them at all costs. Champions understand that pressure failures are invaluable learning opportunities that can make you mentally bulletproof if you know how to extract the lessons. Every pressure failure contains specific information about your mental weak points and exactly how to strengthen them. The first step in learning from pressure failures is changing your relationship with them. Stop seeing pressure failures as reflections of your worth or proof that you're not cut out for high-stakes situations. Start seeing them as data. Pressure failures reveal exactly where your mental preparation needs work. They show you which aspects of your pressure training are solid and which need development. Most people's analysis of pressure failures is too shallow. They make general statements like, "I choked," or "I couldn't handle the pressure." Champions do forensic analysis. They break down exactly what happened, when it happened, what triggered it, and what specific mental skills could have prevented it. This detailed analysis transforms failure into a roadmap for improvement. The concept of failure forensics involves examining pressure failures, like a detective examines crime scenes. What were the exact circumstances? What was your mental state leading up to the failure? What thoughts were going through your mind? What physical sensations did you experience? What was your self-talk? The more detailed your analysis, the more specific your improvement plan can be. Champions understand that there are different types of pressure failures, and each type teaches different lessons. Preparation failures show you that your training wasn't comprehensive enough. Execution failures reveal that your skills need more pressure testing. Mental failures indicate that your psychological preparation needs strengthening. Identifying the type of failure helps you target your improvement efforts. One crucial aspect of learning from pressure failures is separating outcome failures from process failures. Sometimes you execute your process perfectly, but still don't achieve the desired outcome due to factors beyond your control. This is not a failure to learn from. Sometimes you achieve a good outcome despite poor process execution. This is definitely a failure to learn from, even though the result was positive. The practice of pressure failure documentation involves keeping detailed records of your high-pressure performances, especially the ones that don't go well. Write down what happened, what you were thinking and feeling, what you did well, and what you would do differently. This creates a database of learning that you can review and learn from over time. Champions also practice something called failure simulation. They deliberately put themselves in situations where they're likely to experience pressure failures in controlled environments. This allows them to experience failure safely and practice their recovery and learning processes. Failure simulation builds resilience by making failure familiar rather than catastrophic. The concept of failure inoculation is similar to medical vaccination. By experiencing small doses of pressure failure in training, you build immunity to the devastating effects of failure in important situations. Each controlled failure experience teaches you that failure is survivable and learnable from, reducing its psychological impact. Mental toughness is not about never failing under pressure. It's about failing under pressure and bouncing back stronger. Champions view pressure failures as strength training for their minds. Each failure that they learn from and recover from builds their psychological resilience and confidence in their ability to handle future challenges. The analysis of mental breaking points is crucial for becoming bulletproof. Pressure failures often occur when you exceed your current mental limits. Instead of seeing this as permanent limitation, see it as current limitation. Identify exactly where your mental systems broke down and specifically how to strengthen those areas. Champions also study the pressure failures of others. They read about how elite performers have failed under pressure and what they learned from those experiences. They study the mental breakdowns of athletes, performers, and leaders. This external learning accelerates their own development without requiring them to experience every type of failure personally. The practice of failure reframing is essential for extracting learning from pressure situations. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What did this teach me?" Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," think, "I now know exactly what to work on." Instead of concluding, "I can't handle pressure," conclude, "I've identified specific areas for improvement." Recovery protocols after pressure failures are as important as the analysis itself. Champions have specific routines for bouncing back from pressure failures. This includes processing the emotions, extracting the lessons, updating their training plans, and rebuilding their confidence. Without proper recovery protocols, failure can become psychologically damaging rather than educational. The development of failure resilience involves building your capacity to experience pressure failures without being devastated by them. This includes emotional regulation skills, perspective-keeping abilities, and self-compassion practices. When you can fail under pressure without losing your fundamental confidence, you become much more willing to take the risks necessary for growth. Champions also practice what's called progressive failure exposure. They gradually expose themselves to increasingly challenging pressure situations where failure is possible. This builds their tolerance for failure and their ability to perform despite the possibility of failing. Each exposure builds confidence in their ability to handle whatever happens. The understanding that pressure failures are temporary is crucial for learning from them. One bad performance under pressure doesn't define your capabilities or predict your future performance. Champions maintain perspective and see each pressure situation as independent. They don't let one failure contaminate their approach to future pressure situations. Mental failure logs are tools that champions use to track patterns in their pressure failures. They look for common triggers, recurring mental mistakes, and situations that consistently challenge them. This pattern recognition allows them to be proactive about addressing weaknesses before they cause problems in important situations. The practice of failure experimentation involves deliberately trying different approaches in pressure situations to see what works and what doesn't. This requires accepting that some experiments will fail, but each failure provides valuable data about what works for you under pressure. This experimental mindset accelerates learning and development. Champions also understand that some of their biggest pressure failures will become their greatest sources of strength. The failures that hurt the most often teach the most valuable lessons. The situations that expose your biggest weaknesses give you the clearest roadmap for improvement. Many champions trace their mental toughness back to specific pressure failures that force them to develop new capabilities. The concept of anti-fragile development means that pressure failures actually make you stronger rather than just not harming you. Each failure you learn from and recover from increases your capacity to handle future pressure. You don't just bounce back to where you were. You bounce back stronger, wiser, and more capable. Learning from pressure failures requires a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset sees failure as proof of inadequate ability. A growth mindset sees failure as evidence of current skill level and clear direction for development. This mindset shift is what allows champions to transform failures into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. The ultimate goal is to become someone who actually welcomes pressure failures because you know they will make you stronger. When you can fail under pressure, learn from it, and come back better, you become mentally bulletproof. Nothing can break you because everything can teach you. Pressure failures become fuel for your development rather than obstacles to your success. Chapter 13. Perform at your peak when everything is on the line. When everything is on the line, when the stakes couldn't be higher, when failure would be devastating and success would be life-changing, that's when champions separate themselves from everyone else. This is where all your pressure training pays off. This is the moment that reveals whether you've truly developed the mental skills to perform when it matters most. Peak performance under ultimate pressure is not luck. It's the result of systematic preparation and mental conditioning. The highest pressure situations have unique characteristics that require special preparation. The stakes are maximum. The attention is intense. The consequences are significant. And the opportunity is rare. These situations create a perfect storm of pressure that can overwhelm even those who handle normal pressure well. Champions prepare specifically for these ultimate moments. The first requirement for peak performance under ultimate pressure is accepting the magnitude of the situation without being overwhelmed by it. You acknowledge that this is a big moment without letting that bigness paralyze you. You recognize the stakes without being crushed by them. You appreciate the opportunity without being intimidated by it. Champions develop what's called ultimate pressure protocols. These are specific mental and physical routines designed for the highest stakes situations. These protocols are more comprehensive than regular pressure routines because they account for the additional intensity and unique demands of ultimate pressure moments. Every aspect is planned and rehearsed. The concept of pressure privilege becomes most important in ultimate pressure situations. You remind yourself that very few people ever get the opportunity to perform when everything is on the line. Most people never face truly high-stakes moments. The fact that you're in this position is a privilege and an honor, regardless of the outcome. Mental preparation for ultimate pressure involves visualization of the specific situation you'll face. You don't just visualize success. You visualize handling the intensity, managing the emotions, executing under extreme pressure. You mentally rehearse every aspect of the experience, from arrival to completion, including potential challenges and your responses to them. Champions also practice what's called pressure embrace rather than pressure management. Instead of trying to minimize or control the pressure, they welcome it and use it as fuel. They understand that ultimate pressure situations bring out capabilities they never access in normal circumstances. The pressure becomes an enhancer rather than an obstacle. The development of tunnel focus is crucial for ultimate pressure performance. This is the ability to narrow your attention to only what's essential for execution while blocking out everything else. The crowd noise, the media attention, the consequences, the opinions of others, all become background noise that you don't engage with. Ultimate pressure situations require what's called emergency protocols. These are backup systems you've developed for when your normal approaches aren't working. If your regular focus technique isn't effective, you have alternatives. If your usual confidence builders aren't enough, you have stronger ones. You've prepared multiple layers of support. The practice of pressure anchoring involves creating specific associations between peak performance states and ultimate pressure situations. Through repeated visualization and real experience, you train your mind to automatically shift into peak performance mode when ultimate pressure appears. The pressure becomes a trigger for your best performance. Champions understand that ultimate pressure performance often requires accepting imperfection while demanding excellence. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be excellent. You're not avoiding all mistakes. You're executing at the highest level possible given the circumstances. This removes the paralysis that comes from perfectionist thinking. The technique of consequence detachment is crucial for peak performance when everything is on the line. You acknowledge what's at stake, but you don't perform with the weight of those consequences on your shoulders. You focus on execution rather than outcomes. You trust that excellent execution will lead to excellent results. Mental stamina becomes critical in ultimate pressure situations because they often last longer and demand more sustained excellence than normal pressure situations. You need to maintain peak mental performance for extended periods while managing maximum intensity. This requires specific training and preparation for sustained excellence. Champions also develop what's called ultimate pressure identity. This is seeing yourself as someone who thrives specifically when everything is on the line. You don't just handle pressure well, you actually perform better when the stakes are highest. This identity shift changes how you approach and experience ultimate pressure situations. The use of pressure momentum is powerful in highest stakes situations. You use the intensity and energy of the moment to elevate your performance beyond normal levels. Instead of being drained by the pressure, you're energized by it. The magnitude of the moment lifts your performance to match its importance. Recovery systems for ultimate pressure situations need to be robust because the mental and emotional demands are so high. You need ways to quickly restore your energy, focus, and composure during breaks or transitions. These recovery protocols prevent fatigue and maintain peak performance throughout extended ultimate pressure situations. Champions practice what's called scalable excellence. They develop the ability to elevate their performance to match the importance of the situation. They don't perform the same way in practice as they do when everything is on the line. They have higher gears they can access when the moment demands it. The development of clutch mentality is what allows peak performance when everything is on the line. This is the desire and ability to have the outcome determined by your performance. You want the ball in the final seconds. You want to take the last shot. You want the outcome to be in your hands because you trust your ability to deliver. Champions also understand that ultimate pressure situations often create flow states more easily than normal situations. The heightened focus, the clear objectives, the immediate feedback, and the complete engagement create ideal conditions for peak performance states. They've learned to access and maintain these states when stakes are highest. The practice of pressure graduation involves systematically exposing yourself to increasingly high-stakes situations. You build up to ultimate pressure gradually, developing the skills and confidence needed at each level. By the time you face truly ultimate pressure, you've already succeeded in high-pressure situations many times. Mental preparation for ultimate pressure also includes preparing for success as much as preparing for challenges. Many people are so focused on handling potential problems that they're unprepared for success. Champions visualize and prepare for achieving their goals and handling the emotions and consequences of success. The understanding that ultimate pressure reveals rather than creates your capabilities is liberating. The pressure doesn't change who you are or what you're capable of. It simply reveals it. If you've done the preparation and built the skills, ultimate pressure will reveal your excellence. If you haven't, it will reveal your gaps. The goal is not to eliminate the nervousness and intensity of ultimate pressure situations. The goal is to perform excellently despite and because of that intensity. Champions learn to love ultimate pressure moments because they know that's where they get to show everything they've built. That's where they get to prove that all their preparation was worth it. When everything is on the line, champions don't hope for their best. They expect it. They've trained for it. They've prepared for it. They've visualized it. They've built the mental skills necessary to access their peak capabilities when it matters most. Ultimate pressure doesn't intimidate them. It inspires them to show the world what they're truly capable of. Chapter 14. Develop pressure instincts that react perfectly without thinking. The highest level of pressure performance is when your responses become instinctive. You don't have to think your way through pressure situations. You don't have to remember techniques or fight through mental barriers. Your mind and body automatically respond optimally to pressure because you've trained these responses so thoroughly they've become instinctive. This is the level that separates true masters from everyone else. Pressure instincts are different from regular instincts. Regular instincts are what you're born with. Pressure instincts are what you develop through specific training and deliberate practice. They're conditioned responses that become so automatic they feel natural. When pressure hits, instead of thinking about what to do, you simply do what's optimal without conscious thought. The development of pressure instincts requires understanding how instincts are formed. Instincts are created through massive repetition under specific conditions. You must practice your pressure responses so many times in so many different situations that they become embedded in your unconscious mind. This takes thousands of repetitions, not dozens. Champions train what's called situation response patterns. For every type of pressure situation they might face, they develop specific optimal responses and practice them until they're automatic. When they feel their heart rate increasing, they automatically shift to performance breathing. When they notice tension building, they automatically activate their relaxation response. When they make a mistake, they automatically execute their recovery protocol. The concept of unconscious competence is what you're aiming for with pressure instincts. This is when you can perform complex pressure responses without conscious attention. Your mind is free to focus on strategy and execution because your pressure management has become automatic. This is like driving a car where you don't think about steering or braking. You just think about where you want to go. Pressure instinct training requires deliberate practice under increasingly realistic conditions. You can't develop real pressure instincts by practicing in comfortable environments. You need to practice your responses while under actual stress, actual time pressure, actual uncertainty. The more realistic your training conditions, the more reliable your instincts become. Champions use a technique called pattern overlearning. This involves practicing pressure response patterns far beyond the point where they feel comfortable with them. You continue practicing until the responses become completely automatic, even when you're tired, distracted, or under extreme stress. This overlearning creates bulletproof instincts. The development of trigger response conditioning is crucial for pressure instincts. You identify specific pressure triggers and condition specific optimal responses to them. When you feel a certain type of pressure sensation, you automatically respond in a certain way. This conditioning bypasses conscious thought and creates immediate optimal responses. Pressure instincts also include intuitive decision-making abilities. Champions develop the ability to make excellent decisions under pressure without extensive analysis. They've trained their intuition through so much experience that they can sense the right move even in complex, ambiguous situations. This intuitive decision-making is faster and often more accurate than analytical thinking. The practice of instinctive execution involves training your skills until they can be performed perfectly, even under extreme pressure, without conscious control. Your movements become automatic. Your technique stays consistent, regardless of pressure level. Your execution doesn't break down, even when your conscious mind is overwhelmed. Champions also develop what's called pressure pattern recognition. They can instantly recognize different types of pressure situations and know which response patterns to activate. They don't waste time analyzing the situation. They immediately know what type of pressure they're facing, and their instincts kick in automatically. The concept of flow state instincts is advanced pressure training. Champions train their ability to automatically shift into flow states when pressure appears. Instead of pressure disrupting their optimal performance state, pressure becomes the trigger that activates it. This is the highest level of pressure instinct development. Sensory training for pressure instincts involves conditioning your responses to specific sensory cues. The sound of a crowd, the feeling of bright lights, the sensation of increased heart rate, all become triggers for optimal performance responses. Your body learns to interpret these sensations as signals to activate peak performance rather than anxiety. The development of adaptive instincts is crucial because pressure situations are never identical. Your instincts need to be flexible enough to adapt to different circumstances while maintaining optimal responses. This requires training your instincts across a wide variety of pressure, situations, and conditions. Champions practice what's called unconscious recovery. When something goes wrong under pressure, their recovery responses are so well trained they become automatic. They don't have to think about how to bounce back from mistakes. Their mind and body automatically execute recovery protocols without conscious intervention. The technique of instinct validation involves testing your pressure instincts in real high-stakes situations to ensure they're reliable. You can't assume that responses trained in practice will work under real pressure. You need to validate your instincts by using them in actual pressure situations and refining them based on real-world results. Pressure instincts also include communication instincts. Champions develop automatic responses for how to communicate under pressure. They know instinctively how to speak to teammates, how to respond to media, how to handle criticism, how to project confidence. These communication patterns become as automatic as their performance patterns. The concept of instinctive leadership emerges when pressure instincts are fully developed. Champions automatically step into leadership roles when pressure builds. They don't think about whether they should lead. They instinctively know how to calm others, provide direction, and create confidence in high-pressure group situations. Advanced pressure instinct training involves creating instincts for situations you haven't experienced yet. Through visualization and mental rehearsal, you can condition responses to hypothetical pressure situations. This allows you to have optimal instincts even in novel high-pressure circumstances. The development of meta-instincts is the highest level of pressure instinct training. These are instincts about your instincts. You develop the ability to automatically recognize when your instincts are serving you well and when they need to be overridden. This self-awareness becomes instinctive itself. Champions understand that pressure instincts require maintenance. If you don't continue practicing and using your pressure responses, they can fade over time. You need to regularly activate and exercise your pressure instincts to keep them sharp and reliable. The goal of developing pressure instincts is to reach a state where optimal pressure performance becomes effortless. You don't fight pressure or manage pressure. You simply respond optimally to pressure automatically. This creates a huge competitive advantage because while others are thinking their way through pressure situations, you're executing optimally without thought. When your pressure responses become instinctive, pressure situations become easier rather than harder. Instead of adding mental load, Pressure activates optimal performance patterns. Instead of creating uncertainty, pressure triggers proven responses. You become someone who automatically performs better when pressure increases, because that's what your instincts have been trained to do. Chapter 15. Make pressure your advantage in every situation. The ultimate mastery of pressure is not just handling it or surviving it, but transforming it into your competitive advantage. When you reach this level, pressure becomes your secret weapon. While others are struggling to manage pressure, you're leveraging it to perform beyond your normal capabilities. You don't just succeed despite pressure. You succeed because of pressure. This is the highest level of mental performance mastery. Champions understand that pressure creates opportunities that don't exist in normal circumstances. High-pressure situations reveal who has genuine capabilities versus who has been coasting on talent or luck. They separate those who have done the deep preparation work from those who have just been going through the motions. When pressure hits, the unprepared fall behind, and the prepared surge ahead. The transformation of pressure into advantage starts with a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of seeing pressure as something to overcome, you see it as something to exploit. Instead of asking, "How can I handle this pressure?" you ask, "How can I use this pressure?" This shift changes everything about how you approach and experience high-stakes situations. Pressure situations often create performance states that are impossible to access otherwise. The heightened focus, the increased energy, the sharpened senses, the elevated awareness, these are gifts that pressure brings. Champions learn to unwrap these gifts and use them to perform at levels they can't reach in normal circumstances. The concept of pressure leverage is about using the intensity of the situation to amplify your preparation and capabilities. If you've prepared properly, pressure magnifies your readiness. If you've built strong mental skills, pressure makes them more powerful. If you've developed good habits, pressure makes them more automatic. Pressure becomes an amplifier for everything you've built. Champions also understand that pressure creates clarity that's rare in normal life. When everything is on the line, what matters becomes crystal clear. Distractions fall away. Priorities become obvious. Focus becomes laser sharp. This clarity can lead to insights and performance breakthroughs that only happen under pressure. The development of pressure creativity is another way to turn pressure into advantage. High-stakes situations often require innovative solutions and creative approaches. The intensity of pressure can actually enhance creative thinking if you know how to channel it properly. Many breakthrough ideas and innovative solutions emerge under pressure. Pressure also creates urgency that can be leveraged for enhanced performance. The time pressure and high stakes can eliminate hesitation and indecision. You stop overthinking and start executing. You stop planning and start performing. This urgency can lead to decisive action and bold moves that create competitive advantages. Champions practice what's called pressure opportunism. They actively look for ways to gain advantage when pressure builds. While others are focused on surviving the pressure, champions are looking for openings, opportunities, and advantages that the pressure creates. They understand that disruption creates opportunity for those who are prepared. The technique of pressure positioning involves strategically placing yourself in pressure situations to gain advantage. Instead of avoiding high-stakes moments, you seek them out because you know that's where you perform best relative to others. You volunteer for challenging assignments because you know pressure gives you an edge. Pressure can also be used to accelerate learning and development. High-stakes situations provide feedback and insights that are impossible to get in low-pressure environments. Every pressure situation teaches you something about your capabilities, your preparation, and your mental game. Champions use this accelerated learning to improve faster than those who avoid pressure. The concept of pressure differentiation is about using pressure situations to separate yourself from the competition. When pressure builds, many people's performance degrades. If your performance stays consistent or actually improves under pressure, you gain a massive relative advantage. You become known as someone who delivers when it matters most. Champions develop what's called pressure timing. They understand when to increase pressure and when to decrease it to optimize performance. Sometimes you need to ratchet up the pressure to access peak performance. Sometimes you need to dial it back to maintain sustainability. This pressure modulation becomes a strategic tool. The use of pressure motivation is powerful for sustained excellence. High-stakes situations can tap into deep motivational resources that aren't accessible in normal circumstances. The significance of the moment can connect you to your deepest why and fuel extraordinary effort and commitment. Pressure situations also create teamwork and leadership opportunities that don't exist otherwise. When stakes are high, people look for leaders who can guide them through uncertainty. Champions use pressure situations to develop and demonstrate leadership capabilities that enhance their influence and impact. The development of pressure innovation involves using high-stakes situations to push beyond conventional approaches. When normal methods aren't enough, pressure forces innovation and breakthrough thinking. Many revolutionary ideas and approaches emerge from pressure situations where conventional wisdom isn't sufficient. Champions also use pressure to build reputation and credibility. Consistently performing well under pressure creates a reputation for reliability and excellence that opens doors and creates opportunities. You become known as someone who can be counted on when everything is on the line. The concept of pressure networking is about using high-stakes situations to build relationships with other high performers. Pressure situations reveal character and capability, creating bonds between people who perform well together under stress. These relationships often become valuable long-term assets. Advanced pressure masters develop what's called pressure foresight. They can anticipate pressure situations before they fully develop and position themselves advantageously. This foresight allows them to prepare while others are still unaware, creating significant competitive advantages. The practice of pressure coaching involves helping others perform better under pressure, which simultaneously reinforces your own pressure skills. Teaching others how to handle pressure deepens your own understanding and capabilities while building valuable relationships and leadership experience. Champions understand that pressure mastery creates transferable advantages. The mental skills developed for handling pressure in one area apply to other areas of life. Business pressure, relationship pressure, health pressure, all can be managed with the same fundamental skills. This creates compound advantages across all life domains. The ultimate goal is to reach a state where you actively seek out pressure because you know it gives you an unfair advantage. You become someone who thrives specifically in high-stakes situations. You develop a reputation for being the person others want on their team when everything is on the line. When pressure becomes your advantage, you stop fearing challenging situations and start embracing them. You stop avoiding high-stakes moments and start creating them. You understand that pressure is where ordinary people become extraordinary and where extraordinary people become legendary. Pressure becomes the arena where you demonstrate everything you've built and everything you're capable of becoming. Making pressure your advantage is the culmination of all pressure training. It represents the transformation from pressure victim to pressure master. It's the difference between hoping you can handle pressure and knowing you can leverage it. This is where mental performance mastery leads, to a place where the challenges that break others become the opportunities that elevate you.